cold at the touch, dead in the eyes, no signs of life no more. I put your love under the knife, leave me to die here all alone. No signs of life no more, no. A crying dove may never fly. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, oh. Oh, oh. Just black and white. Just let me go, it's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. Just let me go, it's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, oh. Oh, oh. Just black and white. Black and white.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening indeed. Hope you're all having a wonderful December so far in the lead up to Christmas. My name is Chaz Draycott, and welcome to Simracersworld TV for another round of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Series here on our channel. Really looking forward to this evening. Unfortunately, I'll be flying solo this evening. Peter MacKay has other commitments elsewhere, so will not be able to join us, but I will do my utmost to make sure that you get all of the action presented to you in the best way possible from yours truly. Now, we've had a brilliant championship so far this season. It's been very, very intense. Lots of battles in the Pro and AM classes. But tonight is something a bit different for these drivers. Rather than doing the usual 2 races each, we're going to be having a solid 1 hour and 30-minute endurance race here. So the true nature of Sebring will be met, I'm sure, by these drivers. They're just out in qualifying at the moment. And we have a number of drivers that are all enjoying their time out on the circuit. Just having a quick look at something at the moment, if you bear with me. Typically, Chaz is having issues already. Wouldn't be Chaz without an issue, would it? Now, at the top of the pile at the moment is Jacob Tofts, who is absolutely nailing it this season, as we expected. His main rival at the moment in qualifying is Christian Zaruta, who is right there with him as well. Second place currently. The gap between them, 0.7 of a second. It's quite a long lap here as well. It's over 2 minutes per lap, so it's not easy to get right each individual time, as a lot can go wrong on a lap around here. Just having a quick look down the order to see Byron Crawford is the highest placed driver in the... That is actually in the AM class. Just having a bit of an issue with the actual classes at the moment, everybody. As you can see on the left-hand side, usually we have our wonderful colours showing up on the timing tower, but for some reason right now, no such thing. That's a very far away camera there for Byron Crawford to be spotted from distance. Right behind him on track right now is car 2, which is James Cummings, one of the pro drivers in this championship. I'm just trying to sort out getting the buttons sorted for some of these details on here. I really do hope that you can be patient with me for a second. Either way, the cars sound quite quiet around here at Sebring, don't they? But if we go on board, that is not the case. James Cummings making a hell of a lot of noise as he gets back onto the Ullman straight. These things really do fly down here. Up through the revs he goes. Over 200 kilometers an hour. This circuit's steeped in history, and a lot of success here for Porsche as well in the past. So we've got all these guys out there tonight showing us what they can do. At the moment though, James is currently 6th, as you see on the left hand side. Tom Slater is the next car behind him. And then the next pro down is actually Johnny Ealier, who is just chilling roadside at the moment by the look of it. We've got a few pro drivers actually in the mix a bit further down the order, in between some of the AMs. We've got Danny Jones in there. That's the number 5 machine. And then Dan Bathy as well. So if your name's Dan, it's not so much a straightforward plain sailing evening so far. Looks like Dan Bathy had to get on the brakes for a second there. Not quite sure exactly why he was doing that. Either way, it is what it is. I do apologise about the colour issues on the left-hand side. We had all this sorted for last time, but it seems not. It seems not. It's something to do with us loading in the driver details. There's a component for the driver details in our timing software that we use. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be playing ball right at this moment. But Dan Bathy isn't playing ball either. It looks like he's going to have to find a bit of open space here. Gets on the throttle nice and hard. Down the straight he goes. Obviously, very bumpy circuit around here. fast, though. The way they go around turn 1, very scary indeed, but you can hear Dan hesitant on the way out. You can just hear that he's not quite on it straight away. It's all about a bit of confidence in these drivers around here. And this is a circuit with its sort of bouncy surface that just doesn't give you that confidence all of the time. So, it's the hairpin, not quite getting it together there is Dan. But we've got an hour and 30 minutes of racing around here for these guys to crack on with. So they've got to get it spot on time and time again. It's not going to be an easy evening by any stretch of the imagination. Karl Sharkey is currently in the midst of the pro drivers in P6. He's just a 1/10 of a second off James Cummings. Johnny Ealier has now gone up to 4th position in the 11/10 car. Beautiful looking machine. But Jacob Toft's still 7/10 out in front. Pretty incredible, as pointed out by Ryan Parkins there in the chat. Good to see you, mate. Apologies for it being so quiet. It's really frustrating that it's so quiet, because it means that when we do go on board, we're going to deafen everybody. But this is the nose cam compared to the roll bar cam. Look at Jacob using all of that road there. All of it on the left-hand side. You've got to love a bit of that, haven't you? Into Sunset Bend he goes. Very difficult, again, to get the final corner right here. The car wants to step away all of the time. Jacob crosses the line, and it's an improvement as well. 2:01.069. Just a few thousandths off being 3/4 of a second faster than anybody else. We're just going to flick through the cameras here at Sebring. It seems like iRacing wanted the cameras to be as far away as possible. I have slightly edited these already as well, but for some reason that final camera there has not been edited in a way where it's stayed as I wanted, which is rather frustrating. Either way, it's bound to be a fantastic night of racing. I imagine it's going to be a lot of fun. Peter O'Connor right now in the factory Porsche livery. Looks fantastic in those colours, doesn't it? He just makes his way through onto the Ullman straight again. Luke Holroyd a bit further down the order than we usually see him. He's 19th at the moment. Now, if you excuse me, I'm just downloading one of the components needed for our timing software, so I can get it to work so we don't lose the wonderful stripes and colours that we usually have to show you who is in each class. So apologies, this is one of the downsides of being a one-man band for the evening. I'm trying to get this sorted. There you go. Lovely. Now you have the coloured stripes on the left-hand side to show you who's in what class, and at the top as well, you've got the Pro and the Am, and we'll give you the best times from those particular classes so far. We all happy? Good. Smashing. Right then, Luke Holroyd's actually just gone off the road. He's had a bit of a moment down at the hairpin. I'll show you how to edit an iRacing. Oh no, I was going to show you how to edit an iRacing camera for a second there on the spot. Tofts does a 2:09, 0.8 of a second ahead. Unfortunately, Peter has other commitments this evening, so is not able to join us. We do miss him. We have a fantastic laugh working together, Peter and I promise you, not a single second of it is forced when Peter and I work together. It is pure joy and just pure banter. We have a great, great time. I've never really worked with another commentator who I enjoy working with so much. It's brilliant. Here's João Estevez in the bright green machine with the mind.org.uk branding down the side, and as it says on the car, get help now. There's nothing wrong about speaking out if you are going through tough times. This time of year is very difficult for people as well, so make sure that if you are in any way feeling that you just need a bit of help, or you feel things aren't going your way, or you are in a bit of a dark space, then make sure you do speak out. In the current climate, there's a lot of doors open, everyone's ready to put the kettle on. We're all out there to help each other, so do make sure you get help. Andrew Soper has just pulled over at the side of the road. The checkered flag has just come out, so cars are going to start disappearing now very, very suddenly. This 20-minute qualifying session comes to an end. James Cummings, 6th at the moment, 1.4 seconds off Jacob Tofts. I mean, you'd be daft to think that Tofts isn't going to win tonight, really, based on that. He's ready to practice his starts. He's clearly not happy with that one, and he's straight into the pits. Cummings pulls over. Here is Tom Slater coming around the final corner. Car bobbling around. Oh, a car around in front of him there as well. That was Stephen Kershaw, I think. Across the line goes Slater. I don't think he improved. He did not. I think he's going to be the last car out on track, is he? No, Gregory Butterworth is there. He's got a bit of damage on that right rear, actually. There's Greg. I think what we're going to do, everybody, is we're going to ditch roll bar for tonight, I'm afraid. Oh, Ross Dunstan's gone off. We're going to ditch roll bar just so we can at least hear the other cars, because, I mean, it's... yeah, that's way too loud. But this is just down to basically every track on iRacing. When you modify the cameras, they can have their own sort of gain settings and own audio levels and things. This track, basically, with it being quite an old one, has them very, very quiet indeed. But qualifying comes to an end then, and in just a moment we're going to get our grid. But there's only one driver that didn't put a time in, and we just saw him there. It was Ross Dunstan. You can hear the voice of Connery Maddock there doing some of the announcements over the circuit tannoy. Wonderful feature that iRacing have put in the last year or so. And yes, I agree, Colin. We need Ryan Parkins racing again. The King Hippo, as Peter dubbed him. We need you back out there, mate, and getting on with it, showing us exactly what you can do. There are, well, you can tell all of the awnings there that people haven't bothered to paint in their liveries, because as standard they come red and green like that. So all the green ones with red equipment underneath are basically the the ones that people haven't bothered to paint. However, iRacing do make it about a 9x9 pixel square in the bottom right of your liveries. Some people don't even know that you can paint them. Anyway, we have a bit of downtime for a few moments while we just wait for the session to tick over. Should be any second now, to be fair. And then we'll be ready to go for the race. An hour and a half. And there we go, cars disappear. Qualifying results are in, and the drivers will now get on to the grid. We're going to have quite a long warm-up lap here. Obviously it's a long lap anyway here at Sebring, but this makes it even longer. It's Jacob Tofts then on pole position, nearly 9/10 of a second ahead of Christian Zeruta. That's absolutely bonkers. Austin Greatorex is third, 1.2 seconds off. Johnny Ealier will line up alongside him on row 2. Karl Sharkey and James Cummings on row 3 for 5th and 6th position. Car 7 is P7 in the form of Paul Rieger, with Tom Slater alongside him. Byron Crawford is the highest placed AM driver in 9th, ahead of Mark Johnson in 10th. Then it's Peter O'Connor and Paul Goffin, making it 4 AM drivers in a row. Stephen Haley is next up in the 241 machine. Car number 241 is 13th on this grid, with Rob Sharp 14th, ahead of João Estevez and Stephen Kershaw. Luke Holroyd is alongside Danny Jones, with Chris Byram 19th. Dan Bathy lines up 20th. Watch out for Dan and Danny coming through the field. Oliver Carwadine is 21st, ahead of Andrew Shepherd. And then it's Ryan Penny alongside Fausto Pinto on the 12th row of the grid. Behind them we have Colin Wynn and Heinz Mayer, with Michael Rowe and Ralph Mayer in 28th. Andrew Soper is 29th, just ahead of Gregory Butterworth, and then Ross Dunstan is at the back of the pack. And we're underway straight away here. I thought we were going to have a rolling start for some reason, but no, we do not. Good timing indeed. Jacob Toft leads them into turn one. Then look at the size of this field when you get to see them like that in the bright sunshine here at Sebring. It certainly is wonderful. Making a hell of a racket as they make their way through turn one. Looks like everyone's got through there cleanly. Ross Dunstan's gained a bunch of positions, nearly 8 places in the opening corner or so. There's a big check-up in this first section. We'll go to Blimp Camp so you can see just about everybody. Luke Holroyd's fan club has arrived in the YouTube chat as well, so they're here to cheer him on with their emojis. Christian Zaruta, though, putting no pressure on Jacob Tofts early on. Austin Greatorex trying to have a go at him. Johnny Ealier watching just behind them. Everyone seemingly making it through the hairpin okay as well. Bit of side-by-side action there. That's Dan Bathy and Danny Jones making their way through the latter stages of the lap. Karl Sharkey, I think, has just had a bit of a moment. Either that or he's just lost ground in a battle. But he seemed to lose a bit of momentum through there. Into Tower. Very tricky right-hander. The car wants to always break away from you into there. Those cameras do not like changing through there, do they? There's João Estevez in the middle of the pack, dazzling the other drivers around him with his livery. I said watch out for Dan Bathy and Danny Jones coming through the field. Dan Bathy's gained 1 place, and to be honest, one of them was Danny Jones. So they haven't made much progress in the opening lap, but someone that has is Jacob Tofts. I mean, look. Absolutely, yeah. That's loud enough, isn't it? Absolutely disappearing up the road is Jacob Tofts, but it's what you can expect, really, isn't it? Stephen Kershaw in a battle here as Paul Goffin, I think, has had a slowdown penalty and has had to pull over to one side. I was reading Ryan Parkin's message in chat there saying the cars sound great now, and they really do. I've added a bit of distortion to that camera as well, so you really do get quite the rasp of those noises. There you go. Listen to that thing. It's great, isn't it? That's Chris Byron trying to go around the outside of Rob Sharp there through turn one. Nothing doing for him there, but Jacob Tofts leads. Then it's Zaruta under pressure from Austin Greatorex and Johnny Ealier. Lap 1 in the books. And the top 5 still as they are. Paul Rieger has overtaken James Cummings on the opening lap. Oh, we've got Danny Jones off the road. Danny's around and he's in the barrier. Andrew Soap has also gone off apparently. No, he's managed to come back on. But Danny Jones off the road. What's happened here? Did he just touch the gravel? Oh, he's already started rotating it, and then the curb really upsets the car. And around it goes. Now he finds himself behind Ralph Mayer and just ahead of Gregory Butterworth. Ross Dunstan gained 11 places on lap 1. Amazing opening lap for him. I think we can just about deal with the volume of that, can't we? Yeah, I don't know. That's a bit too loud for my liking. Apologies for that, everyone. It seems like as soon as I'm left to my own devices, I can't do anything right. Peter O'Connor is inside the top 10 at the moment, second in the AM class right now. And he's trying to hold on to second in the AM class over Mark Johnson in the 44 machine. And right behind them is Stephen Haley, who wants to make some progress further up the order. He's got a great view of this battle going on in front of him. Maybe we can go on this view. There's been a car off. Dan Bathy. So Dan Bathy and Danny Jones both having nightmare evenings so far. Look at this great shot here as we go through Sunset Bend. 2:01.6 for Jacob Tofts. Fastest lap of the race. Half a second quicker than Christian Zaruta. We need to see what happened to Dan Bathy though, I'm afraid. He's coming into the final corner. Oh, and he gets some help sideways from Ross Dunstan. So while Ross is gaining a lot of positions, that's not the way that people would like him to do it. Mark Johnson is now ahead of Peter O'Connor after that little scrap. Stephen Haley still trying to get through, but not able to. Yeah, it's a very difficult section to overtake on there, especially in one-make racing where all the cars have the same attributes to each other. If it was some sort of touring car or GT championship where the cars are slightly different, it may be a different story. But Stephen Haley, not anything he can do right now. Now, Karl Sharkey, 5th at the moment, with fellow number 7 enthusiast Paul Rieger right behind him. Anchors Rieger, as he's known. Paul was racing in the Dynamics Endurance Series over the weekend with Peter MacKay and Luke Holroyd under the Porsche Sport banner. They were the only car in their class, unfortunately, for 6 hours, but they got to the end and they had a really good time doing it as well, and a very entertaining interview at the end of the day. Ross Dunstan here down the inside of Paul Goffin, both giving each other plenty of room, which is nice to see. Still side by side though. Goffin moves over slightly. No, the overlap is completely gone, and Ross Dunstan now up into 18th position. Jacob Tofts though, look at that gap now. That's only after 3 laps as well. He's really on the move. 2.4 seconds back to Christian Saruta. And then Austin Greatorex, Johnny Ealier, Karl Sharkey and Paul Rieger. It's close here between Mark Johnson and Stephen Haley. Obviously different classes, these two, so they don't have to fight each other really. And in me saying that, I mean Mark Johnson doesn't have to defend so aggressively from Stephen Haley, and there you see he just concedes. Lets Stephen through and says after you, although Stephen's gone a bit deep into turn 1. And now he's suddenly under attack again. Mark's not going to shy away from the fight, but he figures that it's probably best not having a go, because here comes Stephen Kershaw right behind him. He's going to be smelling blood in the water now as these moves start to develop. I'm intrigued that the livery comes half over that number board of Stephen Kershaw on the left hand side. Quite like that. It's almost like the number board's got tangled up in the design. Big train of cars coming out of the hairpin into the latter stage of the lap, but Stephen Haley still some work to do in holding off Mark Johnson. It seems they're quite similar on pace at this moment in time, but we're only 4 laps into a 90-minute race. Anything can happen in that sort of time. Stephen's hoping that it certainly doesn't. They all seem to go a little bit deep there into Tower, but they all make it through safely on the exit at least. Looking a bit further back, Chris Byron in the very bright Cuda E Motorsports livery has got João Estevez going very, very close to the back of him. Luke Holroyd just in front in the gorgeous teal-coloured machine, with the Shark e-bikes branding on one side, Midas Simulations on the other, I believe. We'll get a view now. Yep, I got it right. Now, which way is Byron going to go? It looks like he's only really got one choice there. Goes to the left-hand side, tries it around the outside of Luke Holroyd. Or is he just trying to dummy him and get some sort of cutback? You've got to be so careful with that wall on the inside, because it moves towards you and then disappears again. It's not a smooth wall all the way around. Colin Wynn's about to have a good look at it as well. Look how close he gets there, but you can see, look, it's not completely smooth. It's squared off in certain points. Colin goes through past Heinz Meyer up into what is 24th place. He started 25th, so that's his first place gained in this race for Colin Wynn. We've had an issue for Gregory Butterworth. Oh, just too hot into Sunset Bend. Oh, that's a massive hit into the wall. Not sure if he had some sort of braking issue there, but that car did not want to slow down. Wow, that's a humongous accident. That's another one of those moments where you're glad that it's a sim. Johnny Ealier is right in the thick of this at the moment, to be honest with you. He's got Karl Sharkey and Paul Rieger just behind him. And he's only got 0.8 of a second in front to Austin Greatorex, so these lots still quite close together at this stage. I think some of the slipstreaming is what keeps them together, because the Ullman Straight, which we're about to come onto in a couple of corners, really does glue these cars together with the slipstream. There are other cars that slipstream in a more effective way than these things, but they punch quite a hole in the air to these Porsches. And you can see there they're trying to move around a little bit just to break that toe slightly. Christian Saruta feeling like he has to do that ahead of Austin Greatorex, who in recent times has been unbelievably quick. Remains to be as well. Seemingly no number boards on Austin's car. Not quite sure why that is. He's got the number boards on it, but no numbers for some reason. Seems like the backing to them is all completely solid white. It's like they just haven't peeled them off the template yet. Either way, that doesn't slow him down. Austin is very, very quick indeed, and he's going to try to get past Saruta sooner rather than later. This is João Estevez, currently 16th with Luke Holroyd right in front of him. Looks around the outside at turn 1. That would be brave and fantastic to watch. But he doesn't quite get it right. And yes, Ryan Parkins, very rightly so, mentioning Sim Racing Magazine. One of the fantastic supporters of this whole community. A wonderful product that Andrew Marston puts together for us all. Is consistently brilliant, and a lot of the drivers show their appreciation for it with their Sim Racing Magazine end plates on their car's wings. Mark Johnson's breaking away a little bit now from Stephen Kershaw and the cars behind him. Doesn't look like he's got too much to worry about, but Karl Sharkey does. Karl's off at the side of the road. Is it going to be a rage quit for Karl? Because he's not got moving again. I'm wondering whether he's had some sort of issue with his wheel or something. Because usually, by now, you've held escape and you've pressed Alt F4 and you're gone. Let's see what he does. Oh yeah, something odd has happened there. Either if he races in VR or something, his VR has died, or not sure what. He's come back on track though. That is absolutely devastating for Karl Sharkey. Loses him a lot of ground, and he is now down in 29th position. Gutting for him. Now Stephen Haley just overtaking Peter O'Connor there. O'Connor is second in his class at the moment. Leading the AM class though is Byron Crawford in the blinds to go car. He's certainly having a blinder, as Peter and I would say. Across the line once again. He starts his 7th lap of the race, 6 in the book by now. He's got Tom Slater right in front of him. Tom, of course, in the pro category. So Byron doesn't need to worry about battling with him directly. It's all changed here. João Estevez has just got past Luke Holroyd. Ross Dunstan's continuing his move up the order by going ahead of Rob Sharp. We did say in the first couple of rounds that Ross looked very aggressive in his driving style. It got him in a little bit of trouble in certain places, but he was definitely exciting to watch. Interesting to have these two cars together as well, because it's the 911 911 and it's the 992 992. You can see Ross though moving around a little bit on the way into the hairpin. He's going to try and get a cutback on Luke here. Can he make this work? No, not yet. It's always fun to get the run out of that hairpin as well. It feels great when you're hard on the throttle through here. Really, really quick section of the circuit. Hard braking zone coming up. Is Ross going to go for it here as he puts his nose down the inside? Nice room given there by Holroyd. That was fantastic driving by the pair of them. Ross Dunstan makes the move. And into 15th place he goes. Now Holroyd instantly on the defensive again, because Rob Sharp is right behind him now. Trying to hang on in there. Luke at the moment 7th in class. Reigning AM champion as well in this series. They did have separate races for the individual classes last season. But this season we've been doing a lot of heat racing, which has been loads of fun. So we had 10 drivers going through from the first 2 heats, which were split up by qualifying, and then we had 15 going through from the consolation. So some drivers were doing 3 races in a night, and it's been fantastic viewing so far this year. And we still do have, of course, 2 more rounds of this championship to go after this. Next time out will be at Road Atlanta on the 5th of January. And then 2 weeks later we round the season out on the 19th of January at Monza. That is bound to be an incredible evening of racing. These cars at Monza will be very entertaining. I'm intrigued to see how the Porsche Sport guys get on there because of their 6 hours of Monza from the weekend. See if any of the data or any of the muscle memory they got there can be translated over. So we're 15 minutes in. Rob Sharp just got overtaken by Paul Goffin there for 17th place. Nice textbook move by Paul down the inside. Good room given by Rob Sharp. Rob trying to get back at him straight away now. We've got a car off the road. João Estevez has gone off just ahead of these guys. And now Luke Holroyd's off the road as well. There's contact between a number of them. Ross Dunstan's involved. Oh, nearly contact there as well with Ross Dunstan and Paul Goffin. And now he's come over on Rob Sharp too. Bit of heat of the moment there maybe for Ross Dunstan. Let's have a look at what happened to João Estevez. So João's gone off. Oh, and it's just looped ever so slowly. Ross gets clipped. Luke tries to go the other way, clips him as well. João just gets out of the way as best he can. Ross's car doesn't look too badly damaged, to be fair. So fingers crossed for his sake that it can carry on without issue. But there's a big, big train of cars. I'll show you the track map as well so you can see roughly where everyone is around this circuit. I mean, you can see that Jacob Toft has disappeared, but 13th back to 14th is a good old gap. It's pretty impressive. Ross now looking down the inside of Goffin. Not working this time round. And Ross does have to come into the pits. I was keeping my eye on that just to see if he did lose any straight line speed or anything. It didn't look obvious at first, but he's clearly taking quite the whack there in that left rear. And to be honest, pitting early is going to get him out of sync with all the other drivers, but in a good way. It'll get him out of the traffic, out of the train, and he can just put in fast laps on his own when he comes out of the pits. So that's a really good situation to be in if you think about it for Ross Dunstan. Here's the Scuderia Chicken House car of Andrew Shepherd, one of Peter and I most famous cars, favourite cars in the pack. Oh, and Stephen Haley's off. Wow, Stephen Haley's off big time as well. He's a long way off the road there. He's a long way from our camera, which seems to be up an air traffic control tower. What's he done here? Oh, Gregory Butterworth, no. Oh, Stephen will be raging about that, and he's hit a part of the wall where there's no tyre stacks either. So it just seemed like Butterworth lost it on his own. Was slow out of the hairpin, and then Stephen couldn't really go anywhere. The track goes one way then the other, and I think Greg was just recovering. Stephen's expected to be able to go around him and didn't, I'm afraid. Now Byron Crawford still doing a mega job at leading his class at the moment, leading the AM class. He's got a good healthy 4-second lead over the car behind. We'll bring you up the gaps on the left hand side so you can see just about how far everyone is from the lead. Johnny Ealier though is only just holding on ahead of Paul Rieger right now. These two stuck together. Paul moves to the right hand side. Johnny goes to cover it a little bit. Gives him plenty of room on the inside. You don't want to hit that kink in the wall. Trust me, it launches you into space. As Johnny Ealier holds the inside line through turn 1. And in turn, holds the position. They've got James Cummings not too far off the back of them. Stephen Haley is into the pits now with that damage, unfortunately. And we come back to Luke Holroyd again, who's not really had a second to breathe during this race so far. He's always had people attacking him or trying to get past him, poor Luke. And now he's gone off and gone wide. So he loses ground to Paul Goffin and Rob Sharp, who are still having this fight that they were having a couple of laps ago. The two of them very determined to fight together on track, it seems. But, I mean, look at the cars behind. There's a humongous train of cars all glued together. Epic stuff. In the middle of it, you've got Dan Bathy, Danny Jones, Karl Sharkey, 3 of the pro drivers in that fight. Stephen Haley's on his way out of the pits now, so he does continue in this race. We've got this amazing train. I mean, look at them as they come out of the hairpin. We have a solid train there of 10 cars, led by this Goffin and Sharp battle. Andrew Shepherd is close, very close to the back of Ryan Penny, and he's gone off. Andrew just missed his braking point there by the look of it, and that's all it takes. That's how little you have to miss your braking point by, and you will go straight on. He did a good job not to hit Ryan Penny, though. I imagine Ryan's mirror wouldn't have made for very relaxing viewing. But still, they both continue. It's just that it's cost Andrew Shepherd quite a bit of time, really. You can't just get on the grass here and light it up and expect the car to go exactly where you want it to. It really isn't easy at all. Back to Paul Goffin, though. 13th place at the moment. Currently 6th in the AM class. And here comes Rob Sharp looking down the inside. Goffin moves over and says, nope, no thank you indeed. Sharp says, yes please. Still has his nose down the inside, but NASCAR-wise, you've got two very different levels of pace around the corner with the contrasting lines. It's how you make the most of each line that you take. 20 minutes through the race so far. And this is probably one of the best battles we've seen so far. There's big scraps going on further back as well. Dan Bathy now ahead of João Estevez. Two of them swapping places once or twice on this lap. Oh, we've got Ryan Penny off the road. Wow, how he didn't hit anyone there is a miracle. I had to say it. I thought he was going to carry on, and that's the second time tonight that Danny Jones has been in that barrier. Rob Sharp is off as well. Now, was that in avoidance? Oh, that's absolutely devastating. So Ryan Penny, I think he does it on his own. Yeah, he's just run wide. He's clipped the gravel. Misses Fausto Pinto. Gets hit by João Estevez and Danny Jones. But Rob Sharp went off separately to that. Rob Sharp was already going in the wall. Oh, he's already on the gravel. Oh, he's so lucky not to hit anything there. How on earth? How did Rob Sharp not hit anything there? Oh my lord, that was close. That was ridiculously close to that bridge. The other guys, though, will be absolutely gutted about that incident. Multiple cars taken out by that one. But now we look a bit further forward. 11th place, Stephen Kershaw. Chris Byron right behind him. Look how close these two are as they come down the straight. And yep, very true, Ryan. Mr. Parkins saying it how it is in the chat. It is just unfortunate because he held his brakes like you're supposed to. He did everything he could there. And Byron gets ahead of Kershaw. And the other, well, I was going to say the other Byron, but it's Byron. Byron Crawford has overtaken Tom Slater on this lap. So he's taking on the pro drivers right now is Byron Crawford. Great pace from Byron. Really good consistency as well. He took a very popular win last season. I believe it was at Donington Park as well. In one of the many, many entertaining and dramatic races that we had last season. And throughout this season as well. There's been plenty of drama in places. Mark Johnson and Peter O'Connor, the following duo, and then Chris Byron and Stephen Kershaw. Stephen locks it up on the brakes, does a great job not to hit Chris. And we've got Fausto Pinto, Oliver Cardine and Dan Bathy in a group as well. It's a very, very enjoyable circuit to drive when you get it right. I can imagine it's a lot of fun in these cars when you get them dialed in. Seems that way for Jacob Tofts right now. Can anybody stop this man? 10.3 seconds clear of Christian Zeruta last time that they went through any of the timing beams. Christian Zeruta still in second place though. Austin Greatorex with him, less than a second behind. It's going to be interesting to see how the pit stops change it. Paul Rieger is into the pits. Anchors Rieger is on the anchors. Down pit lane. Bit of a pet hate of mine the way that he's doing that, but there's no other officials or pit crews there from what we can see, so it's fine. Back to this. Fausto Pinto. Oh, Oliver Carwadine. I think maybe giving Dan Bathy the space to go through there. Dan Bathy in the sacred coffee machine. He's always had pretty liveries on his cars. There's Dan. I think last season's has to be the prettiest, though. This one's a lot more subtle, but still looks great. Paul Rieger, the only car that's pitted on this lap by the look of it, which is very interesting. Because usually when you get pit stops in a race like this, a lot of cars all come in at once. You get a big influx of them into the pit lane. Got Mr. Parkins in the chat asking if that's an undercut. I think maybe it's just a bit too early. It's only 25 minutes in. I didn't get confirmation from the guys whether they've limited the amount of fuel they can put in. Because when you do have a long race like this, there isn't quite a 6-hour race or a 12-hour race or even a 3-hour race. They do limit the fuel to just sort of force more pit stops. It just keeps things nice and interesting as the race goes on. Dan Bathy having a go here at Fausto Pinto. Fausto doesn't really need to fight this, well, at all. Dan's in the Pro class, Fausto in the Am class. And through he goes. Greg Butterworth's had another issue, I'm afraid. This is into the hairpin. He's got Luke Holroyd behind him. Oh, he's just gone in a bit too hot. You saw him wind the lock on there. It's gone sideways. And he rejoins the track a little bit further away from the apex. We look back at Dan Bathy, though. He now needs to move forward. Fausto Pinto has suddenly been reined in again by Carwadine and Sharkey. Karl Sharkey, another one that wants to move forward, of course, after that issue earlier. He was in 5th place on the grid for this race, but he's now, on aggregate, dropped, well, 11 places now, thanks to overtaking Oliver Carwadine. And Midas Simulation, Matt Dorrington, good to see you, mate, says, good evening. Yes, the fuel is limited to 50%. So, rather than them able to do an hour, actually they can do about a bit more than an hour, these cars. They'll probably only do up to about half an hour, I reckon. So, we may get 3 stops no matter what. And I think Rieger has just got himself out of sync with everybody else a little bit here in doing that. Luke Holroyd has just disappeared out of the face of nowhere. Oh, well, he's just reappeared. Very strange, that. You do get the odd disconnect from drivers. I had it happen to me last night, in fact. Anyone that knows me knows that my internet used to be the absolute bane of my life, but for months now it's been fine, just very limited in bandwidth. But last night it randomly disconnected out of nowhere for the first time in a good 6 months. And typically it was the one time that I was actually doing a race. I was in a NASCAR Xfinity race last night, trying my hand at turning left. Stephen Kershaw needs to make sure he turns left through here because he's got to defend from Chris Byron. And we've seen a lot of good driving from Chris before now. Oh, look at that, the way the car steps out there into Le Mans. Onto the Ullman straight we go. Plenty of slipstream here for Chris Byron. Moves over to the right-hand side of Kershaw. This is for 4th place in class. Byron gets his nose in front. Who's going to carry the speed into the final corner? It's going to be Byron. But he's gone deep. Can Kershaw make something of that? Not yet. He might have a run on him down the straight. I don't think that's going to be enough to change the position around. Or is it? Kershaw's looking down the inside into turn 1. It's about 48 Porsches wide through there. Or if you're American, 8.5 dishwashers. And now suddenly Chris Byron's got a cutback of his own. He's back down the inside of Kershaw. Great fighting between the two of them. Kershaw leaves room on the inside, but ultimately holds on to the place for now. Apologies. There we go. Look back then at Chris Byron chasing us down. And we're just about to hit a 3rd race distance as well. I can't believe how quickly that's actually gone by. Almost half an hour done already here. We need to look further up the order because Byron Crawford is still in this fight with Tom Slater. You could see this as a risk for Byron, to be honest. Because right now, he doesn't need to fight Tom Slater. He could just sit behind him and just use his pace to his advantage because he's got a big old lead. Although he did have a big old lead. It's only 2.5 seconds now to Mark Johnson. So if they do continue fighting the way they are, Mark might suddenly be right in this fight with a potential of taking the class lead. Look at the way that the cars move around Le Mans, though. That didn't look very, very confident around there. Not quite from Mark, but the car getting very, very floaty and wide away from the apex. But down the straight, not too much to worry about. Right then, cars in the pits. Christian Zeruta, Johnny Ealier, James Cummings, Byron Crawford coming in. Interestingly, Tom Slater stays out. We've got Byron Crawford, leader of the AM class, coming in as well now. So he's going to now compare what he does to Mark Johnson. Stephen Kershaw is also in the pits as well. See if anybody else makes their way in. A couple of drivers just going around the final couple of corners now. Fausto Pinto making his way round. Dan Bathy has come in. Also going in is Karl Sharkey. Fausto Pinto carries on. Luke Holroyd has also carried on. So he moves up to 9th place temporarily. Jacob Toft's not in the pits yet either. He's half a lap ahead of those guys that we were just looking at there. It's pretty incredible. It's just another amazing display from Jacob Tofts. The pace that this boy has and the consistency of it as well. That's the annoying bit when you've got to compete against him. It's not just the fact that he's fast on like one lap and can do a blistering qualifying lap. He's just this fast on every single lap that he does. It's absolutely mind-blowing. But fair play to him. He's not doing anything untoward. He's just showing everybody exactly how good he is. But he's very humble about it as well, is Jacob. And that's one of the best things. He's got this incredible pace about him. But he is such a nice guy about it too. And he's going to come into the pits this time round. Now, the drivers need to be careful there because you can get black flagged and get either, I think it's a stop-go or a time penalty for an unsafe pit entrance. So if you do go over some of the white lines on the way into the pits, you can just sort of tickle the stewards a little bit and get them all riled up. That was Austin Greatorex coming into the pits. Tom Slater certainly coming into the pits with that very ginger approach around the final corner. Mark Johnson, Peter O'Connor, Chris Byram, I imagine, following him in. They're all keeping very, very tight to that right-hand side. We've got battles going on further down. Stephen Haley right behind Ross Dunstan right now. Both of these guys have pitted. We'll show you the pit stops on the left-hand side so you can see who has been in. Luke Holroyd still hasn't, but a number of these drivers will come in this time round, and Pinto and Carwadine, Wynn and Sharp, so it's kind of pointless graphic because everyone's going to have pitted by the time that we've done this. Obviously, the time gets converted into meters on the left-hand side for when they're in the pits, but a lot of meters ahead of everyone else is this man, Jacob Tofts. He currently leads away by 14 seconds now to Christian Zeruta, who's completed his stop as well. Austin Greatorex still third, 2 seconds off the back of Zeruta. Johnny Ealier is still fourth. Byron Crawford has gone back out in 5th place overall, with Tom Slater still just behind him. Peter O'Connor's now about 3 seconds back, so he's... Actually, it was Mark Johnson, wasn't it, before that was there? Where is Mark? He's down in 12th place. He was in the pits for 35 seconds as opposed to the 12 to 20 seconds that a number of other drivers have been in. James Cummings was in there for 47 seconds as well. I'm sure he was in the top 5 before he came in, so not quite sure what's happened to James there. Maybe a penalty for speeding on the way in. They're easy to get. Anyway, more battles further down. Dan Bathy and Luke Holroyd. They're right together. Mark Johnson has just gone off the circuit. You could hear the revs drop and the car go around. There is Mark coming back on. So what's Been a bad few minutes. It's just got even worse. Dan Bathy goes through. He's ahead of Luke Holroyd now. And we need to go further up the order again because Stephen Kershaw is still climbing around behind Ross Dunstan. Great to watch these cars move around here, isn't it? Through this final section, it's so quick. Oh, it looked to me like Kershaw went a little bit deep on the brakes there. Back onto the Ullman straight again. Oliver Carwadine is right with Fausto Pinto as well, by the way. That is 18th and 19th place. Two guys that are obviously a fan of metallic bright colours. Onto the straight they go again. Andrew Soper has just had an issue, and Ryan Penny as well, actually. Ryan Penny seems like he's just had a problem there, and then through Le Mans he's also had a problem. Let's have a look what happened here. Oh, he's just gone in a little bit too hot and he's just overheated the tyres, drags them along the floor, and that will not go down well with the car. This is Andrew Soper having an issue at the hairpin, clatters into the side of Ralph Mayer, and the car comes to a brief halt. Chris Byram's lost it on the way into Sunset Bend. He's going to hit something. Oh, and he hits it hard. He hits it that hard with the back of the car that it bends the front. Wow. That was a big old hit, that, for Chris Byram. We'll watch again just on that bump there on the downshift. The back end's broken away. You can see he's already on the opposite lock. It does not want to slow down at all. Floating sideways there. Looks great from this angle, but not great for the race in the long term for Chris Byram. And then backs in very straight into the wall. It's a hard hit, that one. And we've got Colin Wynn off the road now as well, the number 4 machine. Seems that down in that hairpin is a very difficult place to stop. And yeah, it looks like Rieger's lost time as well. You're right, Ryan. 56 seconds in the pits for Paul Rieger. That says to me, time penalty. Must have been speeding or something on the way in. That's a real shame. Either that or he's taken tyres when he didn't mean to. Just wondering now. I can't see anything else that could be for Paul Rieger. Interesting. Anyway, Byron Crawford right now, still ahead of Tom Slater. It's been a great drive by Byron so far. Started 9th on the grid. And can I just point out as well, Ross Dunstan, what a drive this has been from him. He started this race 31st on the grid, right at the back, after not putting a time in. He's gained 22 spots over the course of this race. That's more than one position a lap at the moment, as we're on lap 19. He is flying. He's got Stephen Kershaw putting him under pressure, yes, but it's just been an amazing performance by Ross. And Ryan's got a good point. This circuit could hurt the tyres if you're pushing around here for an hour and a half. So you may see guys taking tyres as the race develops. This is Mark Johnson and Luke Holroyd. This is for position in class. Luke leaves plenty of room down the inside. Very friendly, gentlemanly driving going on there. Hopefully the same here, because Tom Slater is still attacking Byron Crawford. Doesn't need to fight this, does Byron, like I've said. And back into the slipstream goes Tom Slater. Down the inside goes Tom as well. Nice move. Nice tidy stuff, but knowing Byron, he's probably going to try and come back at him now, isn't he? Let's see what he can do. I've just got a bit of a technical issue going on in the background, by the way, so Might have to bear with me here. It seems like the stream is all fine for it, though. But just something, again, not quite ticking the way I want it to. But Byron's doing a mega job, we have to say that. Peter O'Connor's now 4.6 seconds back. Almost looks like they're teammates, doesn't it, with the Porsche factory livery on that car. Mark Johnson, though, he'll be gutted, really, because down in 16th place now. He was looking like the man that was definitely going to challenge for that class lead. Here's Oliver Carwadine. Fausto Pinto still trying to hold off Rob Sharp just behind them. The three of them just bouncing their way around turn one. Just trying to see how hard these guys attack the curbs. Maybe a bit of conscious decision to not batter the tyres on some of these curbs. It's going to be creeping in here. At the start of these races, you just think, oh, great, an hour and a half, plenty of time to get it done. And then as the race goes on, you start to think, I need to look after the car a bit now. I need to look after these tyres. I need to think about fuel. It all starts to set in more and more because only when you know that you're within a window where you can probably get to the end on the next bout of fuel is when you really know where you sort of are relating to the drivers around you. A lot of the time in sim racing, it's hard to know what people are doing tyre-wise and fuel-wise, so in a race as long as this, you have to just go for it and then worry about it in your last stint, I think. Great pressure here from Dan Bassi on the back of Paul Goffin. Pulls out to the right hand side down the straight. Still a lot of cars all in close proximity to one another as they go down the Ullman Straight. Someone that's not in close proximity to anybody else actually is Jacob Tofts. He is still there. No news is good news right now for Jacob Tofts. Leads the way by 17, nearly 18 seconds now over Christian Tsuruta. I've run out of superlatives for Jacob Tofts, to be honest. Good news is we all are running still. Good English, Chaz. We are all still running, although I've said that. Colin Wynn has literally just jumped to the pits. You saw him go down the order there. Too hot to Sunset Bend, that Colin. And he's not going to be moving those matters, that's for sure. Big hit on the front of the car. Straight into the pits he goes. Not sure if he'll be going back out on track or not. Either way, you can imagine how frustrating that has been for him. Colin's not had the best of evenings. We've seen him have some fantastic nights of racing before, but unfortunately, this is not one of his golden evenings. Tom Slater now just starting to open up a gap a little bit over Byron Crawford, who's then got 2.8 seconds back to Peter O'Connor, so Peter is starting to close in as well. Last time round, Byron did a 2:04.2. Peter did a 2:02.9. So even my terrible maths can tell you that that is 1.3 seconds quicker on that last lap than Byron Crawford. And Byron is only going to be getting more held up here by trying to fight with Tom Slater, a man that was phenomenal in the AM Championship last season. Tom Slater, very entertaining to watch at all times. Really nice guy as well. And Jacob Tofts has done a 2:01.42, exactly a second faster than Christian Tsuruta on that last lap. Incredible pace by Jacob. He did a 2 minutes, I think, .9 in qualifying, or 2 minutes .8. So he's still a good 6/10 off his best all night, but this is in race trim, so that is just vile pace, let's face it. Byron, though, still pushing on. Oh, we've got Stephen Kershaw off the road. That's just through turns 2 and 3. Manages to recover. Doesn't get collected by anyone else. Oh, although it looked like he went off again. There he did. Ran deep at the following corner. Mark Johnson and Paul Goffin having a bout out there. Two classic brands and liveries, of course, adorning their car. Paul Goffin in the Martini branded car. Looks very good indeed. Mark Johnson climbing all over that curb, trying to make ground on the guys ahead, but he is some 30 seconds off Byron Crawford right now. It's a big old difference. We've just hit the halfway point. 45 minutes of this race gone. 45 minutes still left to go. Can anybody do anything about Jacob Tofts? What's the pit window going to look like? You never know, do you? Anything can happen in motorsport. It usually does. We all know that by now. Even in esports as well, we've seen all sorts of things happen. You still do get mechanical failures. You get software failures, hardware failures. Things happening in the real world around the drivers as well. I remember hearing a story about a sim racer, I think it was in Brazil, who his cat had jumped up on onto his sim rig and then up onto his wardrobe and knocked the balance of the wardrobe off and knocked the wardrobe down onto him. He was okay, but yeah, I don't know how much longer the cat survived. Either way, you do get all manner of things go on outside of the sim rigs that these guys are driving in. Had all sorts of stuff go on. There's an absolute plethora of stories and excuses and so on. Got a friend whose cat likes to sit on his keyboard mount at the side of his rig, and he once was completely taken out of the race while lining up on the grid to do a rolling start because the cat had come up and sat on the keyboard and held down the escape key. So he then missed the start of the race. Just little things like that all makes the difference. But at the same time, it means that the sim doesn't have to simulate mechanical failures, which could be seen as biased towards certain drivers. Something that's not biased towards Dan Bathy right now is Lady Luck, because he's just had another moment. Oliver Carwadine's just had one as well. What's happened to Dan? Oh, he's just clipped the grass. He's very lucky not to hit anything there. But still, very frustrating moment. And I think we're just about to see Oliver Carwadine do exactly the same thing. Oh no, he's just gone in a little bit too deep on his own there. Straight on. Doesn't hit any barriers. Doesn't hit any other cars either. Nice tidy stuff from Oliver, considering that he'd gone off the circuit anyway. Nice rejoin from him. Stephen Kershaw inside the top 10 right now, but he's got James Cummings and Paul Rieger right behind him. Two guys that are looking to make up some ground again after strangely slow pit stops for both of them. This is Rieger going into the final couple of corners of the lap here. Now you'll see what the slipstream's like. Oh, Rieger has to be hesitant though out of Le Mans. He's not going to be happy with that. He's using a bit too much curb, nearly clipping the grass. You can see just in front, James Cummings has just rocketed up past Stephen Kershaw and through he goes. Rieger's now going to try and look down the inside as well. Nothing doing yet. Look at the run that Kershaw gets, so he's actually going to get back alongside James Cummings. He come back across the line again. And Kershaw remains all the way over to the right on the outside. Rieger not able to do anything here. Ross Dunstan is on his way into the pits, or is in the pits. So he's having the second of his stops about the 50-minute mark, which is interesting because I think the first couple of stops we saw at around 24, 23 minutes in this race. Paul Rieger now ahead of Stephen Kershaw. Byron Crawford back ahead of Tom Slater. He's done it again. Tom's going to be loving this, and to be fair, so is Byron. They're going to be having a great time fighting, but Byron needs to watch his mirrors here because Peter O'Connor is very suddenly arriving on the scene. He's going to be part of this fight before they know it, and that's not going to be in the script for Byron Crawford. They're so close together as well. They need to be really careful here. It would be a massive shame for something to happen to Byron while he was leading the class, fighting with a driver that he's not even supposed to be fighting for championship positions or points. Jacob Tofts does another fastest lap of the race, 201.275. Incredible stuff from Jacob. Continues to improve the pace. He was 1.4 seconds quicker than Christian Zaruta on that last lap. The gap is now over 21 seconds. Unbelievable. Now then, how quickly is Tom Slater going to get confused between these two cars? He's got basically the same Porsche factory livery either side of him, but one's got purple on it, the other one's black and blue. Obviously Byron wearing the purple, the colours of Lines to Go. Oh, we've got Andrew Soper off the road. We've also got Christian Zaruta off the road as well. There's intervention from drivers further down the order. And Austin Greatorex goes up into second place. Big, big change there. Zaruta's going to be absolutely raging. That car's not going to be the flying bogey for much longer, as Peter calls it. That thing's going to turn red. Let's have a look what happened. So Andrew Soper goes past Ralph Mayer, just goes deep. Actually, to be fair, Zaruta's gone with him. Zaruta's done that on his own. I'm not sure if Zaruta had to do anything in particular to get past Ralph Mayer. No, he wasn't on a different line or anything. And then he hits the back of Soper now. That could be interesting because that could give him some sort of damage that may affect him down the long straight, may even affect the way that the car turns in. They can be quite fragile aerodynamically, these cars. So he needs to watch out. And he better not cry, because it's that time of year. I'm telling you why. Sorry, I'll stop. Too tired. Dan Bathy, right behind Luke Holroyd. Gives him a bit of a flash, says thank you very much, mate. Car 91 passes car 911. Good friendly stuff there from Luke. We've seen Luke do that a few times tonight, to be fair. He's not fighting anybody he doesn't need to. He's just doing his race as he wants to do it, and in a very controlled manner. To explain the tiredness as well, I did a broadcast this morning that started with these cars actually at the Nordschleife in the Race Anywhere Porsche Cup of the United States. It was a broadcast that started at 1:30 in the morning and finished at about 3:30, I think it was. About 3:15 in the morning. And then I was up at 7 to go get my son. And then here we are now. And I've had my COVID booster today as well. So I feel absolutely rinsed. As you can imagine. But still, we're here flying solo, enjoying ourselves at Sebring with Porsches flying around and the Porsche Club of Great Britain. Their sim series has been one of the most entertaining series I've had the joy of covering over the last 2 years. I've been doing this for 4 years, but doing the broadcasting for 2. Luke competed in the British Indoor Karting Finals this month. That's very interesting. That is very interesting because my friend Dan McCauley was in that as well, BIKC in Warrington. That's very interesting. They might have been in different classes. Luke was in the used to have a man bun class. Dan was in the I used to have long hair class. I couldn't think of anything sort of jokey to say about Dan there without being too harsh or saying too much for nighttime viewing on a stream like this. It's not quite 9 o'clock yet. Anyway, we've got a great battle going on here that we shouldn't really ignore because Peter O'Connor and Tom Slater are now fighting. Byron Crawford has disappeared off up the road. Dan Bathy has just gone off track. And I think that's going to be the last time we're going to see him tonight because he's jumped to the pits. Oh, it wiggles one way then the other. It's going to spin around and it's going to just kiss the wall. Oh, that's the tiniest of kisses. But I feel that is an Alt F4 moment for Dan Bathy. I've really enjoyed watching these AM drivers though. Byron Crawford and Peter O'Connor. Fantastic job at the moment displacing Tom Slater. There's going to be a hashtag after this, which will be Tom Slater for AM. Not to take the mick out of Tom, I should say, because Tom is incredibly quick. He's a great guy as well. But being overtaken by 2 of the AM drivers, I'm sure he won't be too pleased with. Now, there's 2 Porsches there, I promise you. That's Paul Rieger trying to chase down James Cummings. These 2 right together after overtaking Stephen Kershaw a couple of laps ago. Michael Rowe has gone off the circuit. We'll take a look in just a second. Should we go over to the other side? Like that? There you go. Now look at that, Rieger just hanging back slightly actually. Decides not to go for the move on James Cummings. Probably thinks that together they can just move forward. They know that they can go very, very quickly together. They've both been really quick. but still. They have both fallen down the order considerably due to those earlier pit stops. Now we'll have a look at what happened to Michael Rowe. Into the hairpin. Just straight on, locks up on the brakes. Easy to do. We've seen that a million times into there. It's a very bumpy braking zone as well, so the car can snatch a tyre very, very easily. João Estevez has just nipped into the pits. He's in 21st place at the moment, so you might not have seen it on your timing tower on the left-hand side. But João looking like the first of those to do their second set of stops. Not even an hour into the race yet, so I imagine we'll get 3 pit stops out of everybody in this one. We'll have to see how long drivers like Jacob Tofts and Luke Holroyd leave it, because they were some of the guys that pitted last in that first stint. Luke currently 15th, a minute and a half down on Jacob Tofts. Jacob has lapped up to 20th place right now. He's lapped Chris Byron, who is 21st. It's been a pretty epic performance, hasn't it? He is 27 seconds clear of Austin Greatorex. And with a normal pit stop, you spend just less than a minute in the pits. But Jacob's got 27 seconds to throw away here, so he could even take tyres, I think, and still come out in the race lead. That is how commanding he has been so far. Now, Fausto Pinto. Oh, he's got Oliver Carwardine behind him, who's just gone a bit wide. Stephen Haley is in there now, and I think Oliver actually getting out of the way of Stephen, thinking, nah, you're a pro driver, I'm not going to fight you too hard here. And he's dropped a bit of ground, though. Then he's got Ross Dunstan behind him. Ross, of course, down to 19th place now that he's out of sync with the pit stops again. Need to keep an eye on that as well, and remember that that's why he was there. Oliver Carwardine's having a nightmare getting this car turned in. It really wasn't behaving itself there. I hope for his sake that that's only something temporary, where he's just overheated the tyres over a couple of corners maybe. Ross Dunstan sweeps around the outside through turn 1. Again, I don't think Oliver was particularly fighting that one too hard there. Just lets him go. Here's 2 of our fastest movers on the circuit right now, actually. James Cummings and Paul Rieger, cars 2 and 7, P8 and 9. James started 6th on the grid, has dropped down to 8th. Paul started 7th on the grid, has dropped down to 9th. So they weren't on the same row as each other, but they were consecutive on the grid. And now they're still consecutive, very consecutive, in the race. But again, it's all going to come down to the final stops, I think. Some of these drivers, I think, may actually... Oh, excuse me. Some of these drivers may actually get through this with just one more stop. Now, Mr. Parkins believes that Jacob and Austin were saving fuel earlier. They're our top 2 in this race at the moment. If they've done it enough, they might have to do it some more in this final stint, but you know what, they may get away with it and just do one more stop. Peter O'Connor and Paul Rieger into the pits. Ralph Mayer's had an issue out on track. Don't hit the inside wall. Wow, that's way too hot. Oh, that's a massive, massive hit. Buries the car in the tyres. That's why there's so many of those tyres there. Yeah, that ain't going anywhere, sunshine. Just doesn't seem like it brakes. It's like he touches the brakes and it just doesn't do anything. Let's listen to it again. It's either a lapse of concentration or just no response from the brake pedal first time round, but that is a humongous whack for Ralph Mayer, and he has jumped back to the pits now. Got a couple of drivers not moving currently. Dan Batty and Colin Wynn, the only retirees. We've got Paul Rieger, Ryan Penny, Ralph Mayer in the pits. Ryan Penny just on his way out, actually, in the Porsche Centre Chester branded car. His theoretical teammate, Carl Hazelton, not here this evening, which is a shame. but we hope to see Karl back out on track again very, very soon. He basically runs the identical livery to this, but with a red stripe down the middle of it. He also races in that livery in the Real World Porsche Club of Great Britain Championship. Now then, we're over an hour into the race, so to tell you how it is, Jacob Tofts is almost half a minute clear of second placed Austin Greatorex. He's got Christian Tsuruta there right behind him in a bright yellow machine. We could have a fantastic scrap between these pair for the final podium spots. Johnny Ealier is fourth in a bit of no man's land at the moment, 11 seconds ahead, 12 seconds behind. Byron Crawford has just relinquished fifth place to Tom Slater as he comes in from the lead of the AM class for his second pit stop. Stephen Kershaw is second in his class at the moment, 8th overall. He's gained 8 places to be there as well. He's about to come into the pits though, and Karl Sharkey is going to go past on the road. Mark Johnson, 10th overall, 3rd in class at the moment. He's going to take the class lead, I believe, as he powers his way down the straight. He was in with a shout of taking the class lead earlier on merit on the road as well. But a very long pit stop for him has curtailed that, I'm afraid. He's lost a good 15 to 20 seconds in the pits compared to Byron Crawford. But the second round of stops now underway. Byron's back out on track and back off track. Interestingly, behind Peter O'Connor. Peter has gained a massive amount of time there in those pit stops. Don't know why my accent changed then. But 2.2 seconds the difference in the pit stop times there between Peter O'Connor and Byron Crawford. So Byron's got some work to do now to take back that class lead. He's been leading it for the whole race. It'll be devastating for him to lose it and not have a fair shot at getting it back. So he needs to push, but he also needs to keep his head right now. It's very easy in this sort of situation to overdrive the car and put yourself in a risky situation. Austin Greatorex still second overall. Christian Tsuruta comes in the pits, tries to undercut him by a lap, but we saw earlier that Greatorex and Tofts were able to go that little bit more on the fuel. It's going to be exciting to see how that turns out at the end, whether they will make it or not. Ross Dunstan still trying to make more ground up the order. Like I said earlier, he started 31st. He's now 16th with Fausto Pinto just in front. Dives down the inside of him and through he goes. Nice stuff. It's had a very, very challenging race so far as Ross. And I think we all hope for his sake that it just continues to remain as it is now. He's making solid progress. He's really, really quick. 2:02.8 last time round. That's quicker than all but 2 cars in front of him, one of which is Jacob Tofts, race leader. The other is Mark Johnson, doing a 2:02.5. Nobody else was quicker than Ross Dunstan on that previous lap. So one of the fastest guys out there theoretically and literally right now. He is one of the fastest cars on the circuit. And now ahead of Fausto Pinto. They are the 2 closest cars together on track. If we show you the track map once again, you'll see there's a bit more of a thinly spread field right now compared to what we had before. Even the classes are nicely mixed up as well. You can see that on the left-hand side of your screen as well in the timing tower. The little red strips designate what class the drivers are in. We could have it like that, but I don't think that looks anywhere near as pretty as that. Doesn't look anywhere near his uniform, does it? Anyway, we look at Ross, and he continues to put in some impressive pace. Fausto Pinto's had a good race as well, to be fair to him. He's gained 11 spots from where he started. He's up into 13th place now, so solid, solid drive. And this is the thing with these longer races. The drivers get longer to do a bit of the heroics as they go on. And you can write more of a story with a race like this, where you do have a driver maybe go off early on and then work really hard to make their way through the order again. Over the course of an hour or so, you've got longer to do it. Karl Sharkey trying to be one of those guys right now. Dropped 11 places after what seemed like some sort of hardware failure or software issue earlier on. And now he closes back in behind Stephen Kershaw. Tom Slater is in the pits. Jacob Tofts and Austin Greatorex have carried on. Now, they both pitted on lap 16 last time round. They're now on lap 32, so I imagine that he's pushed this to the limit on fuel. Is Jacob going to do one more lap? I mean, the pace that he's doing, you'd think he wouldn't be fuel saving at all, but he is just disappearing off up the road. I think one of the most intriguing situations is what's the difference between him and Austin when it comes to strategy. Do they always come in on the same lap, or are they going to be in on different laps? Karl Sharkey looks down the inside of Stephen Kershaw just in front of Jacob there and makes the move. Oliver Carwadine comes into the pits, and Jacob Tofts comes into the pits as well. You could just hear him lift off slightly on the exit of the corner. Now Austin is all the way back here, 32 seconds back he is. Hell of an advantage to have if you're Jacob. We're going to keep our eyes on Austin Greatorex and see whether he comes in. Looks like he's taking it nice and steady into the final corner. Yep, he's coming in. So they can't stretch it more than 16 laps by the look of it. Other drivers that were in on lap 16 include Mark Johnson, Paul Goffin, and Fausto Pinto. So there are a few of them that are slightly out of sync currently. Paul Rieger pitted on lap 28, and his was another 44-second pit stop, so he's gone down again. He was within 30 seconds of Ealier, as Ryan Parkins pointed out earlier. Now it's 51 seconds, so Paul having a torrid night of it. Oliver Carwadine and James Cummings both having very slow stops too. James Cummings was in there for 46 seconds. I think some of these guys are genuinely taking tyres, but I mean, Oliver Carwadine was in there for 30 seconds. Now, I know that adding tyres on adds a lot, but I don't think it varies by 15 seconds, as we've seen between those pair. Here's Mark Johnson, comes into the pits from the class lead in the AM class. Paul Goffin also joining him. Peter O'Connor should be along in just a second. There he goes. Now, Peter O'Connor last pitted. Actually, he pitted on lap 28, so it's him and Byron now have resumed their lead battle. Or at least a lead battle has ensued. Do all the Porsche factory liveries have those circuits all over it? Because I hadn't noticed that. You really can't see it from here, can you? That's brilliant. Anyway, we ride on board with Byron Crawford as he tries to chase down Peter O'Connor. These guys 5th and 6th respectively as well right now. Great driving from the pair of them to get up to such good positions overall. Byron qualified highest out of all the AM drivers. He qualified 9th on the grid. Peter O'Connor qualified 11th. So they've been close together from the very start of this race. There's a bit of traffic in front of them. I think that's Heinz Mayer just ahead of Peter O'Connor. Heinz moves out of the way. And oh, he's going to get in Byron's way. Oh, that did not work out for Crawford at all. He's still got Tom Slater there behind him as well. Tom Slater's still very much on his case. Love watching them make their way through this final section. The way that these cars just sort of bobble around and hop over the curbs with complete ease. Very, very beautiful to watch. Now it looks like Tom Slater's got a great run here, and Byron Crawford knows it. Byron moves over to the right-hand side, says, nah, I'm just going to hug this white line, mate. Now he goes back over to the left, puts himself in prime position to make the most out of Sunset Bend. He realises that Slater's not going to go past down here. Slater's going to try and get it sorted out for the exit and get a good run down the main straight, but I don't even think he's able to do that right now. Oh, Mark Johnson's had an issue. Mark Johnson's race has gone from bad to worse, and he's crashed and come back into the pits. Not sure if he's hit anything. Oh, he's crawled to a stop. Is that out of fuel? Now let's try and... sorry, I was a bit late to the party on that one. Yeah, I think that is out of fuel. So Mark Johnson out of this race, or at least temporarily. He's at least sat in the pits. He might get more fuel in it and go back out, but of course he'll have to wait to be virtually towed back to the pit lane first, which takes a good 2 to 3 minutes. Faster than any real-world recovery crew I've ever seen, I must say. This is Byron Crawford, second place in class at the moment, only to Peter O'Connor. And Paul Rieger is all over the other Paul, Mr. Goffin. This is for 12th place overall. Goffin is currently where he started this race, actually. It's one of the only, I think, 3 drivers in the race right now. 4 drivers in the race right now that are currently where they started. It's soon going to be 3, I think, if Paul Rieger has anything to do with it. Rieger down the inside, late on the brakes. Lovely, lovely stuff. Now, Stephen Haley is back up to 8th place, as Cameron Pfeiffer said in the chat. He is out of sync with the pit stops at the moment, though. He pitted on lap 24. Everyone around him pitted on laps 28 to 31. May only be 4 laps, but around here, that's 8 minutes. That is about a third of what one of these stints would normally be for these drivers. That is with the fuel limited to 50% anyway. So we'll have to keep an eye on where he slots in when this race comes to an end. He's got Andrew Soper just in front of him there in the blood doning machine. Running a little bit wide there out of the final corner. Nearly going to offer his services to the crowd, I think, by the look of it, but still. He cracks on, 25th overall at the moment. His next target is actually Danny Jones right in front of him. Danny not having the smoothest of races either. He's been in the wall twice at the same corner. Once was something he did all on his own. The other was contact from a car that he was just trying to avoid. It's been a very testing night for Mr. Jones, that is for sure. Further up, back with this. Slater looks down the inside, locks up behind Byron Crawford. Wow, oh wow, that was close. Byron gets his foot down, tries to just run away. We've only got about 17.5 minutes of this race left to go now. Certainly does fly by when you're having fun, doesn't it? Just love the way that this circuit flows, though. While there is a bit of stop-start in this section, the corners are still quick. Feels great when you string it together, especially in a GT car as well, where you've got a lot of movement and the car bouncing around quite a lot. Just love watching them lean one way then the other. We'll go back on board now with Tom Slater out of Le Mans onto the Ulmann Straight. You can see the surface shining a lot now as the sun starts to get lower towards the end of this race. We're not going to go full sunset here, but it's at least going to continue to come down and provide this golden tint that we have here on iRacing. Slater just keeping it nice and tidy on the way into Sunset Bend. Hard onto the throttle again, across the line. That is to complete his 35th lap. This is now lap 36. And it's the same for race leader Jacob Toft as well, of course. 35 seconds clear now of Austin Greatorex in second place. He's lapped everybody up to 17th position, Oliver Carwadine. And the next one that he's got to lap is actually going to be his teammate, Luke Holroyd. These two have ended up going side by side. Tom Slater around the outside. Lovely, lovely move that by Tom. We'll have to have another look at that again just to see where that all started. It'll probably be turn 2. Oh, Byron has a moment. And Tom just hooks it around the outside. Very close racing. And this is about where we caught up with it. Tom just carries the speed around the outside. That car really digs in. Bit of trail braking as well. Lovely. Absolutely lovely stuff by Tom Slater. But Byron Crawford is now back in front of him again. I think Byron did it back into the hairpin. So, epic fight between these two. This has got to be my favourite battle of the race. Oh, Paul Rieger's been off the road. Comes back on, though. Manages to survive. He's going to lose a bit more ground. James Cummings is going to go around him. But this has definitely been one of my highlights of the race. I have to say that Jacob Toft, while he's not been on air all the time, He's definitely the star of the show, isn't he? The pace has been absolutely untouchable. But these guys have definitely been the most entertaining. Byron's not even really fighting for the class win right now, because 3.8 seconds up the road is Peter O'Connor, this man right here. He's sort of just sneaked past all this and left those two to just fight again behind, as Byron's had a poor run out of Le Mans onto the straight, and Slater's going to do him in a straight line. But then Byron, you can bet your bottom dollar, is not going to take it lying down. Less than 15 minutes to go now in this race. I want to just quickly apologise as well if I've been off the ball at any point or have sounded slightly off my usual pace. I do apologise, but I'm sure you can understand with me explaining the circumstances earlier. Paul Rieger, 14th place though. He's currently... Oh no! Johnny Ealier's off. Is that going to give some freebies to Peter O'Connor, Tom Slater and Byron Crawford? I don't think it's going to be enough. Actually, no, Peter O'Connor is going to go through. There he goes. And here's Tom Slater and Byron Crawford. Here's some of the distortion. Distortion cam, we're going to call it. Sounds epic though, doesn't it? As Tom Slater looks back at Byron Crawford. Look at the way that the car just wags its tail out of the hairpin. Spits it one way then the other, but still gains a lot of traction. The way that these cars just punch out of corners is just something else. It really is awesome. We'll just give it a second and just enjoy the view, I think. Oh, well, there's something to enjoy there. That going around is Michael Rowe, right in front of Tom Slater. Ryan Penny's been off as well for just a second. So this is Michael Rowe. Oh, he's lost it on his way into tower. Something looks wrong with the car. Oh, Slater, I bet he absolutely... Oh, flipping heck. Yeah, there's not even words for what Tom Slater would have done there, but it involves giving birth. Anyway, it's actually opened up the gap. You would have expected the opposite, that Byron Crawford would have seen the whole situation unfolding and just caught right up to Tom Slater, but no, he was also cautious there, avoiding Michael Rowe, and has actually lost time because of it. So he needs to pull his socks up right now and get on with it, because he's not got long to chase down Tom Slater. I don't think we're going to have to pit again. So these guys will be pretty pleased about that. Means they can just push to the end, which is, let's face it, what you always want to do as a racing driver. Heinz Mayer, one way then the other over the grass as well. Now right behind him, Gregory Butterworth is not for position. This is for position though. This is Paul Goffin with Paul Rieger and James Cummings behind him. Obviously Paul Goffin in the AM class, so he doesn't really need to fight these guys, but Paul Rieger and James Cummings both in the pro class, so these guys do want to fight each other. They want to get a good scrap in before this race is done. Rieger's thinking, right, I need to get ahead of you right now, please, Goffin. Kershaw has just gone off the road, just ahead of this. Lovely stuff by Rieger down the inside. And now James Cummings wants the door to open, but he's going to need a crowbar first, I think, to move Goffin. Just have a quick look at what happened to Stephen Kershaw. Up into turn 2. Oh! Oh, I tell you what, Stephen. Fair play, mate. Fair play. What a save that is. What a save that is. Look at this. How you get that stop there and don't hit something after a big, big step out like that, I do not know. Great stuff. Absolutely great stuff by Stephen Kershaw. Cummings now down the inside of Goffin. And he's got him. Through he goes, but the gap now to Paul Rieger, 1.8 seconds. That's how quickly it can develop here. Really has disappeared up the road. Further back, actually, Michael Rowe, who we saw off a moment earlier, is under pressure from Andrew Soper. Soper has managed to catch back up to him. This is for 23rd position. Andrew looks down the inside. Michael doesn't let anything come of that yet. Tries to stick to the back of him right now. And he's going to get some solid slipstream down this straight. Soper moves over to the right. Needs to be careful with that kink on the wall. Then moves over to the left. Shows him that he wants to go down the inside. Nothing doing. Careful of the wall. We've all hit it. If you say you haven't, you're a liar. Ross Dunstan's back in the pits. That's just because he's been completely out of sync since coming in for the damage earlier, I'm afraid. So it seems like the 20-plus positions that he's made will not be on the scorecard at the end. We're into the final 10 minutes of the race. These two still fighting away. We're going to stick with them, give them a bit more airtime for this one, because this could be a very, very exciting conclusion to their battle on track. Michael Rowe tries to go as deep as possible on the brakes. Oh, he straight-lined it, and Andrew Soper goes through. Michael makes it easy for him. And Andrew now is going to be laughing all the way to the bank, the blood bank. And still, still these pair stuck together. Look at it. Byron Crawford and Tom Slater having a right old ding-dong. I am absolutely loving this. Absolutely loving it. The two of them have been epic. They don't have to fight each other. That's a very suspicious way of covering up the Michelin logo, isn't it? They've been absolutely going at each other's throats for this whole race. They don't have to fight each other because they're in different classes, but it's just been awesome. Solid entertainment from these guys. I tell you what, I know you're not all paying to watch this broadcast, but even if you were, it'd be good value for money no matter what price you paid, wouldn't it? I'm not sure whether it's worth paying for having my voice in your ears, but for this racing, yeah. They've got Stephen Haley just behind them as well, actually, who's in 8th place. That is for position on the road as well, Tom Slater and Stephen Haley, so Tom will want to try and get away from him as quickly as he can. They've all gone a little bit deep into Sunset Bend. And there you go. I was just about to say Haley might have to come in before the end of the race, so that's that battle done with. This one's definitely not done with right now, though. Christian Zaruta obviously lost out before when he ran wide, got stuck behind a back marker, and Austin Greatorex crept through, but Austin's right in front of him now. And Christian's in slipstreaming range is what I'm thinking. What's it going to be like trying to chase down Greatorex? We know how quick Austin is. And trust me, when Austin needs to push and put some lap times on the board, he will push. And he's really good at it as well. You can see a spit of flame coming from the exhaust. That's Gregory Butterworth getting out of the way. Lovely stuff by Greg. Hard onto the brakes we go. Using all of that curb. And all the curb on the left. Get the car chucked all the way over. Use the road at Le Mans. Massive curb on the exit. And now into the slipstream. Towards the sunset we go in more ways than one. 7 minutes of the race left to go now. Look at the speed that they carry into Sunset Bend. It's great, isn't it? Zaruta, I think, has gone a little bit deep there, but is he going to get a good run on the exit? He dabs the brakes, gets it turned in nicely. Look at that. He turns it into a fantastic run onto the back of Austin Greatorex. The gap is less than 0.2 of a second. Ryan Penny's had an issue that we're going to have to come back and look at. Stephen Haley and Paul Rieger are also close together, but this is for second place overall. There's not been too many battles inside the top 5. But these guys now closer than they've ever been. Well, maybe except the start, but we can roll with that, can't we? Great pressure from Zaruta. Just to give you a quick glimpse at it further down, this is the battle between Stephen Kershaw, Stephen Haley and Paul Rieger. Peter O'Connor is into the pits. That is surely and definitely going to give Byron Crawford the class lead. He's 2.2 seconds clear of Tom Slater now as well. So Byron Crawford moves up to 5th place overall. Epic stuff. Now what's going to happen here? Because I feel like this is going to look like a Red Arrows formation fanning out anytime soon. There you go. They just need to turn the smoke on now. Stephen Haley flings it up the inside of Kershaw. He's obviously just pitted as well, so he's going to be quite happy to be making positions straight away. And coming into this, quite literally, James Cummings. We've got 3 pro drivers and 1 AM driver here, so Kershaw's going to feel outnumbered, but he won't need to fight it. And what's Rieger doing there with that one? Looked like he was going to try and turn in a little bit later and get a strong exit. He has got a strong exit, but it's about the same as what Stephen Haley has managed that time round. Oh, Cummings goes down the inside of Kershaw. The two of them make contact. Good sportsmanship by Cummings. He waits at least and says, no, I don't want to take the position like that. That would not be fair. It's just a little bit late on the brakes, wasn't he? I think he wanted to just chuck it up the inside. Oh, and there was just a tiny lock up there. As soon as it snatched that front left wheel, it went. But nice sportsmanship for him to at least wait and say, no, you stay in front of me. I do not want to gain it that way. Here's the battle for second still going on. The gap to Jacob Tofts now is 42 seconds. It's absolutely vile. Absolutely vile. That basically means for, what, every minute that we've been racing, he's gained half a second. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah, he's gained about half a second for every minute that we've raced here tonight. That's just absolutely bonkers, isn't it, really? Austin Greatorex might have to think about defending sometime soon. I have to say it. Christian Zeruta looking very racy right now. And that neon, dayglow, yellow, grello, whatever it is certainly not subtle in your rearview mirror. You know it's there. You know it's moving around, and Zeruta knows where to put it. But Austin also knows where to put it. He's great at defending, is Austin. He's a very well-rounded sim racer. Look, Christian just moving the car to the inside just to show his nose and say, look, I'm thinking about it. He's making his intentions very clear right now, is Christian Zeruta. It gets more and more exciting to watch each time. James Cummings and Stephen Kershaw now fighting once again. But instead of fighting the cars in front, they've actually got a car behind in the form of Paul Goffin, who is half a second back from them. Further up the order as well, Paul Rieger and Stephen Ealier are still having their fight. Rieger getting through recently. Parkin saying Austin's very round. Ooh, cheeky. Now Zeruta's nowhere near as close as he was last time round. 0.7 of a second as they come onto the straight. That is going to start going down now, as it is doing, but not by a lot. It may be a pretty big straight, but doesn't come down by that much. Only a couple more laps to go here. Jacob Toft's already over a third of the way round a lap. And he's got quite a lot of traffic around him as well. Just to give you one more look at where all the cars are on track, there is quite a bit of dead space down the back straight and down the main straight. Car in 29th place at the moment is Gregory Butterworth, so he's got a lot of real estate around him. We're currently looking at Jacob Tofts. He's just at the top right of that map now, just coming into Tower. He's got a big bunch of cars in front of him. As you can see, it's quite the train. So he needs to pick them off one by one. It's going to be one more lap to go for Jacob Tofts as we hit 1 hour and 28 minutes now, and it's just over 2 minutes for a lap. So he might not have to even push that hard to get past all this traffic. Either way, it has been a solid drive by Jacob Tofts already. I look forward to seeing how that continues onto the final lap. Zeruta pushing very hard indeed. The brake discs really glowing through that section there. And Austin has gained a bit more ground on him. The gap came down to 0.4 and then very quickly opened up to 0.8 again as Zeruta overdid it. Jacob Tofts is round the final corner and onto his final lap. White flag will be in the air for lap 44 for Jacob Tofts. This is the middle of the field. Stephen Haley just behind Paul Rieger. These guys just finishing out our current top 10. They've both had tough races so far, so to be where they are, I'm pretty sure they'll be quite happy with. Paul Rieger started 7th as well, so it's been a great recovery by Paul. He's done an awesome job of it. Ross Dunstan, despite being out of sync in the pit stops and having to pit once more than everybody else, he's actually still gained 16 places. This is Danny Jones in front of him, not for position. Danny currently at the moment is down in 26th place. He's an entire lap down on Ross Dunstan. Oh, Rieger using all of the road there to try and stay ahead of Stephen Haley. Pushing very hard indeed. We'll have to see how Jacob's getting on though with all of this traffic. He's Overtaken a few of them, I think. Maybe even just the one. It's just Rob Sharp that he's got ahead of. Right now he's got Paul Goffin next up, so he's going to lap everyone up to at least 14th place. Here's Jacob. But I want you to start preparing your clap emojis in chat, please, everybody. I used to do it a lot. Stopped doing it for a while when it got ridiculed, but this is a very clap emoji-worthy performance, and maybe even some emoji trophies in there as well, because Jacob Toft has really been a superstar, not just tonight, but this season, since coming into the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Series. And it's been an incredible, incredible drive. He leads by 43.7 seconds as he comes around the final corner. Put your hands together, everybody, for Jacob Toft, who takes the checkered flag and takes the win in round 6 of Season 4 of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Series. What a drive, Jacob. What a drive. Job done. You really can't argue with that. I'm sure Austin would love to. He'd love to be up there with a shot of that, but unfortunately, him and Christian just weren't able to compete with that pace tonight. Still, they've had some fantastic battles with one another. And it's not over yet. They're coming down the straight to get it round Sunset Bend. One more time, Austin. Nice and smooth. Nice and smooth. And he does it. You could see Zaruta really pinch the car to the inside to try and get the run. Greater X finishes second. Great drive by him. Zaruta finishes in third. Solid performance by both of those drivers. I'm sure they'll have both enjoyed the scrap that they had there. Johnny Ealier is going to be next up. He's 33 seconds off Zaruta and 10 seconds ahead of Byron Crawford. Sorry, no, they called him Brian Crawford there. Apologies, Byron. But more solid points going the way of Johnny Ealier in the 11/10 car with the Sim Racing Magazine end plates on the wing. Great stuff from Johnny. Again, very solid, very consistent, great pace all the way through. And behind him, taking the win in the AM class after a very solid performance again from him, Byron Crawford. No cracks on that one. Tom Slater finishes in 6th. What a great fight they had, by the way. Those two, really my highlight of the race. Karl Sharkey is next up. He finishes 7th overall. Good recovery from him as well, considering his earlier issues. I still want to find out what that was. Peter O'Connor, great drive in 2nd place in his class. Paul Rieger is going to finish 9th ahead of Stephen Haley. He's going to get a top 10 after all of that, so solid stuff from him despite the big incident he had earlier on. James Cummings recovers to 11th. Nicely done for him. And Stephen Kershaw is going to round out the podium in the AM class. Great stuff. Absolutely great stuff. Has to be said, though, everybody. Has to be said, what can you say about Jacob Toft? Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Don't stop it there, Jacob. Oh, he's doing some burnouts, that's why. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. We still have some other drivers finishing their laps, but a bit of appreciation right now for Jacob and his untouchable pace that he's had all night. I really don't have a clue how he does it. And what worries me is the fact that a lot of the drivers in the series don't have a clue how he does it either, but still, he's very humble, very friendly bloke. Composes himself incredibly well on a racetrack and in an interview as well, I have to say. But we do have our race result for you. I'll show you exactly how they shaped up as they cross the line. Jacob Toft takes the win by 44.5 seconds to Austin Greater-X. 2nd place for Austin, though, really strong stuff. Christian Zaruta finishes in 3rd with Johnny Ealier in 4th position. Then Byron Crawford wins the AM category, finishing in 5th. Tom Slater is next up in 6th, ahead of Karl Sharkey and Peter O'Connor, who gets 2nd in the AM class. Paul Rieger finishes 9th, Stephen Haley in 10th. James Cummings is 11th, a really good recovery from him. Stephen Kershaw finishes 12th, 3rd in his class. Paul Goffin is in 13th place with Rob Sharp in 14th place. Sorry, I've just seen Ryan Parkin's comment shouting black and white. Yes, this is a tune. Ross Dunstan is 15th with Luke Holroyd 16th ahead of Oliver Caldine and Chris Byram in 18th place. Fausto Pinto is 19th ahead of Andrew Shepard and Heinz Mayer, with João Estevez, Mark Johnson, Andrew Soper and Michael Rowe, the last drivers to be one lap down. Danny Jones was 2 laps down, so too was Ryan Penny and Ralph Mayer. And then 3 laps down was Gregory Butterworth. Dan Bathy retired from the race 19 laps from the end. Colin Wynne left us 25 laps from the end. Well, Jacob Toft's doing some donuts at the moment, celebrating his victory, absolutely loving it. And can you blame him? Let's see if we can get a lower down camera angle of that. No. Thanks, iRacing. Anyway, Jacob jumps back into the ether, you could say. You just cannot argue with the pace that he's had tonight. And same with Byron Crawford as well, who we look at here. Byron's been so entertaining. And that battle that he had all the way through with Tom Slater was great fun to watch. I really hope we can see more of that in the future, because they absolutely nailed it. You can see as well Peter O'Connor coming out of the pits in the background of that shot there too. It was a very close run thing between those guys, but Byron ultimately took the class win. Jacob was just in a class of his own though, absolute class of his own tonight. You have to give a very strong word for Austin Greatorex and of course for Christian Tsuruta as well. They pushed so hard all the way through that race, tried to at least overcome what they could with strategy, but by the end of it, it was still a massive gap for Jacob Toft to take the win. I'm waiting at the moment just to see if we can potentially get our race winner or even class winner in the booth with us, but to be fair, it may be time to very quickly draw the curtain on this evening. Although, just in time, he pops in to say hello. Austin Greatorex joins me in the booth. Austin, that certainly didn't look easy tonight for you, especially with Tsuruta in very close proximity. Talk me through it.
Hello there, Chaz. Yes, it was, should we say, a very tense race. Obviously, being the longer distance, it didn't help. And then with Christian, pretty much from lap 1 the whole way through. And luckily, I got him on the pit stop. I managed to save a lap of fuel at every stint. And then, yeah, in the end, it just prevailed for me.
I was going to say it was interesting with the fuel because we knew that you did 16 laps first time round, and it was that sort of waiting game to see if you could just get a 17th lap out of the second stint, but we didn't know if that was even going to be possible. Did you think that you could have pushed it to a 17th lap, or was it very solid 16? Because it's quite a long lap here, isn't it?
Oh, no. I think the only person that may have been able to get 17 laps of his pace would have been Jacob. It was borderline 16 for myself.
Yeah.
And I believe if I did 16, that means Christian only did 50 both stops. It was literally that close.
Well, it's always been a close series, hasn't it, up to this point? I mean, the competitive level of it does just keep stepping up and up each time. Does that make it more enjoyable for you guys, or more of a challenge and a bit more strenuous? Or is it even a bit of both?
It's still fun, and it is still a challenge. And funnily enough, the 3 of us that are on the podium today are all, I think there's about 10 points separating us in the championship fight. So although it is still fun, it's with 2 rounds to go, still very tense. Yeah,
it is indeed. It's all very much still open for some consideration, let's say. But either way, a solid drive tonight, mate. It's the word I've used a lot tonight, is solid, but everything was very well rounded from yourself, from Christian and Jacob. Is there anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, yourself for doing the broadcast on your own. Personally, I don't know where Peter is, but I'll leave that at that. Everyone that's in PCGB, all the organisers, Porsche Sport and all our sponsors. So you've got Sharkey Bikes, Bracket. I know Jacob's got, I want to say it's Johnny Moore watches. I've got Cobra. I'm definitely missing 1 or 2. Midas, got all of them, and then just everybody else that takes part.
Lovely stuff. Well, great to speak to you, Austin. Well done on the solid result, as I called it many a time. Thanks very much for joining me, and we'll see you next time round, mate.
Thanks, Chaz. Have a good Christmas, and everybody else that's been watching, and everybody that takes part, have a good Christmas and a good New Year, and I'll look forward to 2022.
You too, mate. Thanks very much. See you soon.
See you later, buddy.
Well, there you go. Austin Greatorex then finishing second in that one. The man that he just beat to the flag, though, was Christian Tsuruta, who had a very lively race in that one, despite that one incident. Christian, it looked like that was the only sort of changing point for you in Austin. It seemed like a bit of a deadlock other than that. I'm afraid we can't hear Christian at the moment, so we might have to chuck him back into the ether and just see if we can grab a quick word with Jacob Tofts while the microphone situation gets sorted out. Oh, we've moved the wrong bloke there. Apologies. Let's get Jacob back in. Apologies, Jacob. Well, not much can be said about that, really. I've run out of superlatives for you, but that just seemed like a Sunday drive for you. But at the same time, you were pushing like mad. How did it feel from where you were?
It wasn't easy. I really wasn't sure if the tyres would last till the end, because I wasn't able to practice in this temperature. So I was just trying to not overheat my tyres, because once they overheat, it's hard to get them back to temperature.
Yeah, that's the thing with iRacing. You always know that once you cook the tyres, that's it. They never cool back down again. But it's a difficult circuit to get right time after time because of how bumpy it is. But you always seem to find a consistent line. Is there a separate sort of little bit of magic that you have to pull out of a hat for this circuit, or is there any secrets to it?
Not really, no, I don't think so. Sebring's a great track because you don't have much time to relax. The only really time off is the back straight. If you like, everywhere else you need to focus, just because it's so bumpy and it's so challenging. So all I really did was just brought my braking points forward a bit, and that helped.
Now, obviously, there's only 2 rounds of the championship left for this season going into the new year. This has surely got to be an even bigger confidence boost in terms of your pace and your consistency going into those final 2 rounds.
Yes, hopefully they go well. I've had a few penalties for various reasons in the last few rounds, so it was nice to get a clean race without any penalties or any of that stuff taking away from the actual racing on track. So hopefully it can stay that way for the last 2 rounds. I think it's myself, Christian and Austin now fighting for the championship, so hopefully it's going to be clean and close.
Yeah, I can imagine it will be. It should be good fun to watch as well. Is there anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to before I let you go, Jacob?
Johnny Moore Watches, Bracket Racewear, you guys, the organisers, and everyone else who's watching. I hope everyone has a good Christmas and a Happy New Year, and hopefully has a well-earned rest and is able to stay safe.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Merry Christmas to yourself as well, Jacob, and of course, extended family and everybody else. Thank you very much for joining me, mate. Well done on another fabulous win, and we'll see you the other side of Christmas.
Thank you. Cheers, Chaz.
Cheers. Well, there you go. A very humble race winner. Certainly enjoyed himself there. And we do finally have time to grab Christian Zaruta from the 3rd place spot after that one. Other than that one little incident you had, Christian, it seemed like a very solid deadlock between yourself and Austin.
Oh, yeah. I don't really know what happened on that little incident, but that definitely cost me and put a little bit too much fuel in at the end, which just gave Austin that bit of a gap and just had to try so hard to catch him. And by the time I got to the end, those last few laps, I was getting the "we need to change your tyre" messages and stuff. So
yeah,
I just didn't have quite enough left at the end in the tyres to get past him. So I felt like it was a couple of points I might have been able to nip him. But when you haven't been running, in close proximity to someone like for the whole race, and you've just been kind of lapping around, you're a bit more cautious of not taking each other out, especially at the end of the race.
Yeah, that's it.
Sure,
I mean,
I'm sure Austin would have been really pleased if I binned him off with 2 laps to go.
Yeah, I think it would have made for great drama on the broadcast, but I don't think behind the scenes it would have been so sweet.
Do you know what? I was expecting Michael Massey to appear at any point throughout a safety car with 2 laps to go or something.
And just not let Austin pit, but have you pit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and Jacob as well. Yeah.
Well, it would have been a hell of a twist. But I mean, talk to me about Sebring. It looks like a very difficult track to master in these cars because of just the pure nature of the Cup car, the way it floats around. The curbs seem all right, but every so often they look like they can bite you in the backside.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of corners which just every time you come up to it, it feels different.
Yeah.
Like that the turn 2, 3, and 4, that little right, left, right wiggly bit is horrible. And then that right-hander before you come onto the SE bit and onto the back straight is quite a tricky one, and there's a horrible curve on the inside there as well. And every lap you go around it, it's like that definitely didn't feel the same as the last lap, and you never seem to get it the same twice. I'm sure Jacob does. But,
Yeah, it's quite scary how much of Jacob's pace. He's just on a different planet sometimes. But either way, you're still in the championship fight with 2 rounds to go. Are you feeling confident?
Yeah, we'll see. You know, I was a bit worried for the first kind of like half a lap when Austin and me were side by side. So I was like, okay, there's only like, you know, 89 minutes to go, but if that's how we want to do it, fine. I mean, I don't think we had the pace to keep up Jacob, but we might have held on to him for a bit longer if we kept in his toe. But it's so hard to follow through the kind of the second half of the track where it's quite quick. You just get massive understeer everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he was just gone immediately. So nowhere near him today, but yeah, it'd be interesting. Austin and I seem to be right the same on pace every single round, so it'd be interesting how the next couple of rounds go.
Well, I look forward to watching it, mate. It's going to be a hell of a fantastic finale. A couple of rounds as well. Any quick final words from you before we let you go?
Yeah, quick shout out to my other half, Shelley, Peter and Jess, who were all at the pub without me, but they're watching it on their phone apparently.
Fair play.
And my mum, who always watches it for a bit of a laugh, who's probably watching it at home somewhere. So shout out to those guys, and I hate you, Austin. Cheers.
Well, thank you very much for jumping in, mate. Great to speak to you, and we look forward to seeing you again very, very soon. Cheers, Christian.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Nice one. What a fantastic laugh Christian is. Really, really good spirit, of course. But a fantastic championship fight lies before us. Only a couple more rounds left in this season of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Series. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us tonight. It's been a hell of a lot of fun. We miss you, Peter MacKay. But thank you, everybody, for putting up with just me here on the broadcast and on commentary duties as well. My name's Chaz Draycott. This has been Simracersworld TV and the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Series. We will see you in 2 weeks' time. Have a good one.